This is describing me all the stuff. I'm like, no, I don't like this book. I'm like, it's something. Here for overcompensating. And when I'm in my room, I get stressed out. Like, oh my God, like now I'm stressed, and I go into immediate tension. Then it's
If I could have your attention, please, we have a quorum, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. If you look, rise and join me in the pledge of allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we'll move to public comment. Public comment, the board does not respond to because it's not an agenda item, and there's no notice published as to what the topic might be of public comment. Does anyone here wish to make any comment? Anyone from the public? Yes, ma'am. Would you try to think of anything?
I'm not quite asking to do that. My name is Dr. Vito. I'm here tonight to bring up the topic of school safety. I have two children, one in the middle school and one in the high school. And I'd first like to start by saying how much me and other parents appreciated the school safety forum that were just recently done. I think it was a great way to hear about how the schools are working with law enforcement. That was a key thing for me. It's also a great way to hear about all the ways the schools are already keeping our kids safe. And while I was somewhat reassured at the 6th ranking that was on one of the slides that was presented, I'm always wondering what we can do that we can improve on, what more we can do to help keep our kids safe. So I'm here with two requests tonight. The first is I would like the board to consider formation of a task force. And that, in my mind, would be comprised of law enforcement, school administration and staff, parents, and students where appropriate. This would really be for us as a team to evaluate what's already in place and to make recommendations on improvement. So that's my first request. My second one is that the board consider hiring an independent advisor, consultant. In the research I've been doing, I've been hearing a lot about that lately. The value in that, meaning that somebody would come in, evaluate what's already in place, and give us some recommendations on how to improve. So, at this point, with so many things going on in our society, I really feel like it's a matter of when, not if, something is going to occur here. And most people don't want to talk about it. So I want to bring it here tonight to talk about it so that we can be proactive. So it's my intention from here to put a call to the first selectman and meet with him with my request. I have a couple other parents who are eager to join us. I don't know at this point if it's something that you've already done, and maybe I'm already talking about things that you've already tried, but at least I'd like to know either way. So I feel like it's an important topic. I hope you put some consideration to it, and I'll be back in the June meeting to give more ideas, suggestions, concerns. That's it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? No other public comment? Okay, we'll move on to, we're going to skip item number 2. Marissa Walker is still engaged playing softball. We don't bring the program yet, so we'll bring that back on the table and see if we can make it here for a meeting. So we'll move to the consent agenda. If there are no questions or comments or corrections, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. No question. second will be the superintendent's report.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for being in attendance. This is one of my favorite meetings of the year because it's a chance for myself on behalf of our whole team to provide some highlights of the school year and what has been happening in the Waterford Public Schools. It will be highlights. It certainly will not be an exhaustive overview of everything we've done because that would take probably until the next meeting to cover. So, certainly the board has a board goals report in their packet, but it's really meant to highlight some of the great teaching and learning happening in our district. One of the main focuses this year at the district was the launch and implementation of our 5-year strategic plan. Some of you on the board and certainly the others were engaged in that work over the last year and a half, and this year is really putting that plan into action, and that was certainly accomplished in a number of ways. Creating strong coherence across all our goals is important work. Creating that through line from the goals of the board all the way down to individual teacher goals is valuable and meaningful. Our principals this spring have been engaging their school leadership teams in creating school improvement plans that will be in place for next year. These plans will include goals and strategies to address things such as accountability results, standardized assessment data, and the district's strategic plan. The other part of the launch of the strategic plan this year was really that continued communication piece, whether it is prominent signage in all of our buildings, as well as a very simplified web page for the public that you can see there on the right where they can click on one of the 5 areas and do a deeper dive in all of those. A core component of the strategic plan is a greater focus on the use of data. This year we formed a district data team, which we named our District Analysis and Action Team. This team is comprised of administrators and teachers from across the district from every school, and those folks are here tonight. This team truly is a district leadership team. The work of the team this year focused on evaluating what assessments we currently administer, their function and purpose, as well as how we're using that data. That will form the foundation of a bona fide assessment framework that will be developed through the course of next year. This is an important next step as we pursue a data dashboard tool for the district. A subgroup of the district data team has been previewing products this spring. A data dashboard is going to allow us to consolidate our data, analyze, visualize, and allow us to use that data to inform instruction more than we already do. The DAC team also conducted a social emotional learning inventory of our programs for what will be the basis of conducting a gap analysis to see what else we could possibly be doing in this area. Again, continuing with our launch of the strategic plan is a focus on high-quality instruction. Our focus on math pre-K to 12 was strong this year, as you know, from several different board presentations. Refining our intervention model continues, and we continue to be proactive with the launch of programs this year, such as the Sandy Hook Thomas Foundation programs of Start with Below, Say Something, and Wingman. How teachers collaborate with one another to enhance instruction is vital for our next level. The time our teachers spend working together, collaborating, is being enhanced through the use of data and use of student work protocols. Using student data to determine next steps is certainly core to our mission. Another board goal this year was to provide high-quality, effective professional learning. This has been a strong priority, both in words and action, as seen through the board's support of this area in the budget. We enjoyed the second year of our Teacher Leadership Academy, again, some of the folks are in the audience here tonight, which provides a cohort of 20-plus teachers with targeted professional development on teacher leadership. Our teachers are active in setting the direction of the school district in many ways, and this program ensures they have the professional development to be most effective in this work. We have in front of you some of the artifacts from this year, including a summary of all their projects, and as well as their theories of action. New this year was the addition of principal and assistant principal meetings with central office by level. We've always met as an entire district administrative team on a regular basis. This year we parsed out regular meetings by level to really make these instructionally focused. These meetings were held in buildings and allowed us to focus on instructional change as well as conduct instructional walkthroughs to discuss teaching and learning. At the secondary level in particular, administrators and teachers participate in the League of Innovative Schools, which focuses on mastery-based learning and standards-based grading initiatives. Again, great work underway. Our PD needs are identified by our district initiatives and our Professional Learning and Evaluation Committee, which is a conduit for teacher input. You can see on the slide the various PDs offered through the year, and obviously you get the regular reports after each PD day. Moving along, mental health, which is so closely in line with the rest of our work. We know the research shows that if students' emotional and mental health needs aren't met, their chances at academic success decrease sharply. Our work on mental health approaches is, again, core to our mission. This board has had a consistent priority for our district to continue to design and implement programs to meet the social emotional learning needs of our students. We've heard about many of these throughout the course of the year through various presentations, budget workshops, and whatnot. We know we cannot do this work alone, and much of this work is done in conjunction with community partners. Innovative programs such as the creation of the sensory room at Great Neck that services our pre-K and autism students is one example of our continued focus to meet student needs in this area. Tonight, you're going to hear about our revised school counseling curriculum, and you are all well aware of our successful unified program. Some of these are repeats from prior years that we continue to enhance and refine. New this year is something called Family First Fridays at one of our elementary schools. One of our social workers provides parent workshops on Friday mornings throughout the course of the year on a variety of mostly social and emotional learning topics for parents. These sessions that provide opportunities for families to connect with resources both in and outside of the school. We know our students come from many different backgrounds, so getting kids grounded first thing in the morning is important through our morning meeting approach. As I said, this work doesn't happen alone. We engage many community partners in this work. This year we partnered with the FBI, Drug Enforcement Agency, and the State's Attorney Office to bring in an opioid education opportunity at Waterford High School called Chasing the Dragon. We partner in many areas with the Youth Service Bureau, including JRB and the newly formed Attendance Advisory Board. Engaging families and promoting the good work happening is so important. Whether it is our coordinated marketing or designing new events for families, we never feel our work is done in this area. We had our second annual Parent Academy program once again in the fall. Last week we launched will be the first of many theme nights. Actually, the idea came from Amanda. Thank you for pushing us in that direction. It was a great event, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later in my remarks. Certainly Clark Lane second annual Smarts Night, highlighting their extracurricular and elective opportunities. And as Ms. Zito pointed out, our school safety forum wrapped up this week. It is events like these that we continue to engage our families. One you might be aware of was the Reading Olympics held at Oswegatchie Elementary School. If you haven't seen the clip, play it now.
Someone is walking on one side.
You play it too late.
I will need the team captain.
Uniform's on.
Let me get my timer ready.
At Oswegatchie Elementary School in Waterford, the students are training
In Old Yeller.
for the Reading Olympics.
Students, try to present Old Yeller for voting at night.
Each team is tasked with reading 32 books.
20 seconds.
Every student has to read at least 4 on their own. The Olympics provide a fun way to test that they accomplish the task.
Alright, time is up.
But it also gets the students engaged.
What is your answer?
and excited about reading.
That is correct.
My parents always told me, like, you should go read, and I'm like, really, I really don't like reading, but now it helps me, like, get confidence in reading and enjoy it more.
What was Sam?
It was the idea of the Scouts.
it's nice to get a real book in their hands.
She wanted students to not only read some classic literature,
And can you tell me a bit more?
but think about the story.
That is correct. He claimed he was temporarily blind. It wasn't just reading, they were actually comprehending. They had to think deeply about it. We gave them notebooks, so they were jotting down main plots, main ideas, themes. And things of the day, what did James realize when daylight came?
Fourth graders, like Jameson.
I haven't gotten to that part yet.
That was an interesting guess.
We're going.
Interesting.
Cute.
Who doesn't want to win? Second place is the first loser.
Oh my God! It's great when kids are excited about reading.
Hilarious.
This event was actually the same night as our last board meeting. Again, just another way that our schools are actively engaging their parents. Whether it be evening workshops, parents are engaged in their child's education in our schools in a variety of ways. We include parents on hiring committees. Certainly we have several up and running already this spring. We're aligning goals to parent survey feedback, and we're engaging them in discussions about our school district through things such as parent advisory coffees at many, if not all of our schools. Talked about promoting our district. Again, vital to our mission. There's a good percentage of our communities that don't have children in our school district, so making sure that they know what's going on and the good work that's happening is very important. Certainly, last year we launched our Connection newsletter. This year we launched a new mobile app. We certainly have a greater online presence through social media, and it's only getting more robust by the day. We look forward to previewing our new website that will launch later in June and July, and we'll certainly share that with the board. It really is going to look sharp, and a whole bunch of people involved in that endeavor. So the board goal is around assessing the district's growth and progress. Knowing where we are, what we've done, and where we're going are all necessary steps as we continue to enhance what we do. This board goal certainly aligns perfectly with the work of our strategic plan. We were proud this year to share with you at a board meeting the degree to which we are utilizing the MAP assessment system. Very positive feedback from all of you, what you got out of that evening. I mentioned earlier the work of the district data team and the development of the school improvement plans for next year. These plans are going to serve as a roadmap for instructional excellence. We're seeing a greater focus on data across the board and the use of information to not only analyze where we've been, but again, where we're going. We're asking those questions of what, so what, and now what. We continue to push our students with endeavors such as the Connecticut Seal of Biliteracy. We'll be one of the first high schools in the state to award this to graduating seniors. This is a competency-based measure where students will have it designated on their diploma that they are proficient in more than one language. And that was an optional program in the state throughout the year, and we're taking advantage of that. We're using things such as the SAT score portal to identify students who can benefit from being maybe pushed a little bit harder than they already are and accessing higher level coursework. We're using data to differentiate and apply that data to the determination of things such as math intervention groups. Certainly I've talked about this topic over the last 5 months of supporting the budget in challenging times, and forming collaborative relationships and efficiencies is certainly important as we strive to stretch the dollar. Throughout the budget process, I want to commend our team for starting at zero each year and adopting a needs versus wants mindset. We're working not only with our town on cooperative bidding, but we're working with other districts to find efficiencies such as sharing transportation, joint bidding, and purchasing endeavors. We're examining how we group students in our own schools with paraprofessionals instead of just adding and adding. We've taken a determined approach to negotiations to settle contracts that aim at long-term cost containment versus short-term fixes. Energy pursuits, such as the gas line for Clark Lane Middle School, which I know you've heard me mention many times, these things do matter. Chasing grants for more opportunities is certainly something that our staff is accustomed to. The slide is in our budget presentation. It's a prideful slide for me because this really represents the hard work of many teachers and administrators who are writing these grants on their own time. These are competitive grants. That total was under $100,000 last year, near $150,000 this year. And again, it's the staff who cares about kids and really wants as many opportunities as we can provide. Again, highlighting some of the work around the board goals this year. Certainly want to share some achievements. We can't capture them all. It's certainly nice to be recognized when we have good things going on. Again, I mentioned earlier in the year, we had 2 National Merit Scholars this year. Certainly, Marissa's recognition, not only here in Waterford, but nationally. Quite proud of her and all our students. Our CTE programs at the high school, business, food, and nutrition, tops in the state, as measured by the NOC system. And certainly, opportunities in the arts, our chamber choir performing with a world-renowned violinist, which I would not have known, but certainly people pointed out to me that this is quite an honor. Other things, teams of our students competing at the Connecticut Science Olympiad, the New England Ocean Bowl. We have a student from Great Neck going to Washington, D.C., chosen as a national finalist in the Invention Convention. And we can see many other opportunities. We just finished up our Rotary Awards 5 Mondays in a row where we're honoring our kids, and certainly athletic endeavors throughout as well. In terms of staff, we have 2 teachers again this year received Fund for Teacher Fellowship. Some of our pet coaches were featured in a chapter in a nationally released book. Music teacher featured in a Connecticut Music Magazine, Association Journal. And our high school wrestling coach was named Connecticut's most outstanding coach. So again, a lot of great work going on. To be remiss if I didn't mention Quaker Hillis, their year as the elementary school of the year winds down. They've done a marvelous job representing us throughout the course of the year. You're getting a lot of mileage out of this, Mr. Discordia. But it is well deserved, and again, very it's indicative of the quality that we have here in the district. Things like our CTE program being pointed out as a model moving forward for other programs as far as how they responded to the site visit. Community service, we talk about the tens of thousands of hours of LPS hours our students provide, and certainly staff are involved in organizing many of these, whether it be the Global Read Aloud, United Way, Stuff the Bus. Again, all things that not only develop our youngsters, but benefit the broader community. We host things such as the annual Jazz Festival. That was this week. Our Marine Science program continues to be a spotlight internationally, again, with their work in that area. Our advanced drafting class, working with various community departments on community-based projects from a drafting perspective. Our Honor Society kids donating portraits to youth around the world. I think they included that in a Friday note a couple months ago. Again, really just highlights, certainly doesn't capture everything we're doing. These 33 slides were really meant to give you a snapshot of some of what is happening on behalf of our team. I thank the board for your continued leadership, your support in setting the course for our district. We're incredibly fortunate to have been involved in Focus 4. As the year comes to a close in the next couple of weeks, I thank our parents and families for being involved. That doesn't happen in every community. And I thank our staff for giving it their all each and every day. It's really been what I think is another great year in the Waterford Public Schools. Happy to take any questions on that before moving on, or comments. Board members?
I'd just like to make a comment. I attended some of the school safety meetings that Tom and the police chief and the building principals did. I thought they were wonderful. I learned something new from every single one, and I also noticed that the parents had some really good suggestions. And we have some really involved parents that really care. And thanks to these two parents for coming tonight, with your ideas. And I'm glad we did that because, the town should know about all of these things. And safety is just so important.
And just a couple other items, Mr. Chair. I want to compliment Oswegatchie and Quaker Hill for their student work. And there's some pretty cool sculptures made out of garbage-like items back here.
Recycling. Oh, Lord. My husband would say the same thing.
I mentioned Dean Wright. I want to just provide a little more background. Waterford High School hosted a district theme night representing work in science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. It was a good turnout for a nice springtime evening to get, I'll say, probably close to 100 people. Parents and families with their kids trying experiments and different things. Some of our music and arts were well represented. We're already talking about expanding it pre-K-12 next year. So really was a successful night. And thank you for the hard work again. This doesn't happen without staff. We've already mentioned school safety forums. This wasn't a one-time deal. The chief and I are already talking about hosting these again in the future because people did get so much out of it. Director of Athletic and Student Activity Search is in process. I look forward to seeing a candidate to the board in early June. I'll keep you posted on that. I mentioned the Jazz Festival. I believe that was actually today, instead of this week. It was today, so it's a busy time of year. Quaker Hill, you'll be out at Waterford Beach on Tuesday. Hope for good weather. How's it looking?
Good right now.
Okay. Do your best to control that. Make it happen. We'll be out there again if the board has any time at all to pop out
What is
there.
it, basically 8 to 3?
Yeah, 9 to 1.
9 to 1. I think I'm going to try to make it.
It'd be great. It's really very cool. So if you have any time at all to hop on out there. We have a meet and greet next week at Oswegatchie for Mr. Macrino with the staff. We're working on some parent events as summer approaches. And Mr. Adler forwarded me a rather noteworthy email that 3 Waterford High grads were chosen to be university scholars at UConn this year. They picked about 30 in the whole university.
That's great.
3 of them were Waterford High grads. So, again, great news and just indicative that kids are leaving here prepared for life. So, trying to keep it brief because I know we have a lot of curriculums coming up too. So that concludes the superintendent's report unless there's other questions.
Hearing none, we'll move on to committee level report. Marcia?
We reviewed the tuition policy, tuition policy, and the first grade non-certified personnel policy, and the attendance and truancy policy, and the youth reporting policy. And brought them to
Thank you, Marcia. Other committees?
I attended the Atlantic Broadband meeting. Nothing in particular came out of it. We're just we're asked to put some information on the town of Waterford website, so I'm working on that to get it to the IT committee for their consideration. Basically, just to advertise the council's existence and how people can get access to public TV.
Yes, Camp Dash is almost full. It's 5 weeks away already. We do have a lot of students that are going to the summer academy that are also going to stay for Camp Dash, but at least we'll have some fun in the afternoon too. Right now they're still interviewing camp counselors, and they're getting everything all organized. The food locker, as I mentioned, I think at the last meeting, has been moved to the Youth Service Bureau. It's the interfaith food locker that was housed over here at the town hall, and we think it's going to really help families a lot because someone will be available on the weekends also to help in case anybody needs food. And what Danny plans on doing too, if these families not only need food but maybe need some other assistance, she's going to be there to help them and let them know where they'd be able to get that help. And she told us at one of our meetings, we have 18% of our Waterford residents are below the poverty level. So they could really, use our help. And I think by having it at the Youth Service Bureau, I'm hoping more families in need will come out and, and come and, get things that they need.
And then also, like I said, Danny could help them in other areas too.
Any other reports?
The annual WEF fundraiser dinner on May 18th was a great success. They raised over $3,000 for that fund, and they provide a lot of grants and scholarships for our kids, so that was a great success for them this year.
New business. Recommendation and appointment of the board to the county long-range financial planning committee. That's to appoint Craig Mariner to the board for presentation. Does it have a motion about that?
So moved.
Second. You sure we want to do this, huh?
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next item, discussion and possible action on the account write-off before care programs for hospital absence before they go.
I move that we approve as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Art case.
That would help, right? There you go.
So we're going to talk about two curriculums in three parts tonight. I'm going to just start with the social emotional learning as part of the 5-year change curriculum renewal for school counseling. The first decision that was made from the department was that the elementary, because the elementaries don't have school counselors, really needed kind of a set program. The last curriculum we had resources for teachers, but the committee felt strong that they needed kind of a separate program. And so our 3 elementary school psychologists met with a group of teachers across the 3 schools and reviewed 3 different systems and approaches. And what we really based upon our decisions is that, you know, whatever we do for SEL has to align with our district and strategic plan, and we really want to accomplish a consistent and systematic coordinated program, K-5, across the 3 schools that would build nicely into the secondary, the 6 through 12 model. And to that end, we really, as I said, we looked at several different programs, and the outcome was to recommend for board approval a second steps program, which you will see in the yellow box behind Craig Merriman, and then lessons adapted from a zones of regulation program, which we'll see kind of behind NIM in the corner. And again, after the curriculum presentations, those would be the instructional materials that we would ask for adoption at a subsequent meeting. The second steps program would really fit into the morning meeting concept of elementary kind of classroom, and you can see the topics that are going to be covered, from skills of learning, empathy, emotional management, problem solving, self-regulation, and school connectedness. These really dovetail nicely with the work that Jason is going to present next at the secondary level. And in addition to that, teachers found it with the busy day with elementary, they just kind of wanted something kind of like pre-done, a little more simple. So I'm personally not a big canned program person, but in hearing the staff's needs, this seems to fit it, and it will provide that systematic consistency across the schools. In addition to that, Quaker Hill School. Sorry?
You and I were on the same page, but when I heard that these were canned programs, I was a little skeptical. Have we vetted them in any way? Have we checked out what their successes are? And have we used the data?
All great points, Marcia. I didn't mean to gloss over that. So we did find out kind of what's being used around the area with highest degree of success. Second Steps has been noted in many school districts as kind of a tried and true. Again, I really was pushing back because I'm not an out-of-the-box kind of kit for classroom use, but for morning meeting consistency and that other districts are finding great success, this did resonate. And so with that, I feel that this is an okay use for this type of instruction.
And about how much time does it take in the morning?
Yeah, so we're really just talking about a 15-minute lesson and daily, and because this is kind of preset, it's really ease of use for teachers, so it can be comfortably done kind of first thing in morning meeting. Again, that's why I'm sort of saying this is okay for this use.
Will the teachers be trained on it?
They will. So upon approval, but in planning, in preparation for that approval, our August TD for elementary is really going to be all around an SEL theme.
Okay.
So we're going to have Second Steps training, we're going to have zones of regulation training, we're going to have a keynote from Yale because the elementary faculty this year were in a math workshop when we heard a keynote from Yale from the secondary, and then we're going to also have one of our high school faculty members give kind of like a personal kind of own, fill your own bucket. You can't give to others if you're empty. So that's kind of the August TD in preview. Which of course goes along with one of our policies. We can't implement something without professional development.
Right.
The zones of regulation, I have about 15 slides at your place that I didn't want to go through in efficiency of the night, but Quaker Hill has been piloting it this whole year. They've modified sort of the book, and they built this PowerPoint. It's part of the August PD that the whole faculty will get this overview, and you can kind of see with in-depth what the zones are. And again, if you have any in-depth questions about the zones, then Mr. Discordia could unpack that about the success of the pilot this year at Quaker Hill. So that's what I have for the elementary piece. And again, the two items for instructional resources that if you wanted to see that we did vet, we have the policy sheets by those different kits and the different kits out there for the board to look between now and the next month. From here, I thought I would kind of build upon this to go right into our department chair, Jason Adler, who really helped lead the renewal for the school counseling curriculum.
All right, so I actually have no idea why we had it. That's good. I know what we're going to have. So good evening, everyone. I just want to say, before I begin, very great. So I just would say how proud I am both of everything that Tom presented earlier, but also how there is a through line of social emotional learning through all of it. I think in the past, well, certainly in my tenure as department chair, I've seen more and more a relationship building between administration, faculty, and the counseling staff, and we also include psychologists and social workers, because we're all end up being counselors and teachers, all of us, they just never stop. So that relationship is incredibly important. So as originally written, the school counseling curriculum for K-12 depended a lot on non-counselors for lesson delivery. And that was one of the main reasons we felt that obviously nothing is ever perfect. We needed to edit our original curriculum so that we weren't asking school psychologists or school social workers or advisory teachers to deliver what in very much is our wheelhouse. And also we needed that direct feedback from students after we deliver that information because those are our kids. More often than not, when we do lessons at the high school level, we are inviting our students down, we divide them alphabetically, so we bring our kids to us. And we visit their advisories that are divided alphabetically as well. And in the middle school, they are mother to a class. So they travel with a class for all 3 years. So we can visit our own students, so we are focused on them, and we can, again, develop that relationship. The original curriculum overly depended on the mentor and advisory system, and there are a lot of needs that need to be met during those two systems, the mentor system being at the middle school and the advisory at the high school. And so we tailored down how much we utilize that instead of very much focused on using study halls before and after school, and anytime we can get people on it. And we often, unfortunately, pick on English. Doesn't great about it. School psychologists and counselors determined it was best practice, as Craig mentioned, to couple the K-5 and K-12 curricula. It's not that we had a turf war, it's simply that the secondary schools and the primary schools have called different things because they're different, and the K-5 have different needs. And though I do believe, as Craig mentioned, the dovetail does come quite nicely, the social emotional needs and also the build of the school day themselves is so different between the two, also different between 6 to 8 and 9 to 12. So we really need to develop our own curricula based off of what our kids needed, but also on how the school days will go. So that was the genesis of why we changed. So Clark Lane, they're the hardest counselors, the hardest working counselors that I know, and that's nothing against the high school, but they are constantly going into school classrooms. They have very much adopted, and so Will is probably not the right tense to use that, and they have been, and they're like in the push-in model, and they've been working with students because they have so many kids in so many different classes, and it is difficult in their systems to invite kids down for individual appointments to do that, but they are very emphasized in going into the classroom, working with the teacher, trying to make sure it is appropriate for where they are in the curriculum. They often work with the health teacher because you can see how that would work quite well. But if there's a topic coming up in an English class where there's a book that's being read, they're really trying to come in and saying, okay, honestly, I think what they're using more school called the cold call field. Which I don't know if they do. Anyway, that's not a pause there. If there's a hero element, if there's a rite of passage, they can talk about such things in the social emotional context, that it doesn't come out of left field. It really does fit and does fit with class development. I didn't get it. So this has led to a huge increase in the overall amount of lessons that the counselors are teaching, and so they're very focus on covering the more pertinent topics like grade level. So they are doing needs assessments. When the kids are coming down for individual meetings, small groups, lunch bunches, they're talking to the kids constantly, and the kids are still talking back. They're more reticent in high school, but they're talking in the middle school. And so they are very much editing as they go. So what you have in front of you for the curriculum is very much where they are right now, but my expectation is that will change depending on their own class's needs, because that's really what social emotional learning should be about. Should be a core that is always going to be done, but then each class might have their own individual needs, and I think kids feel more empowered when they know the lessons are based off of what they are interested in and concerned about. Now my neck of the woods. So we started, even in the last curriculum, to very much emphasize our individual planning session. It is something that not a lot of schools do. In fact, I don't really know of anyone that guarantees the students a minimum of 50 minutes, and on my record this year, well, I was there for the entire time, with 3.5-hour meetings with classes, with students and their parents, depending on the year, and we just make sure they know they have the opportunity to talk to us one-on-one. And then we do have many small group information sessions based off of set of lessons classes, going into a classroom to talk about a very pertinent subject for that year. We don't dovetail as nicely with the curriculum, but we give the students a long-term heads up when we want to talk about resumes, when we talk about college search. We are, in this coming month, in the beginning of June, going into the junior English classes to start the common application, because it's just that big a thing now that we want to get some of that load off of the students so they can spend more time looking at schools and worrying about how to apply. Advisory lessons will now very much primarily focus on the transition activities for the 9th and 12th graders. We'll talk a little bit about some of these we're going to do for the 12th graders next year, but those are such critical years, and really the transition issues are year-round. So certainly we focus on the 9th graders at the beginning of the year, and the 12th graders throughout with an intense focus on the end of the year without plans at the end of the year, which not many have. So each student meets with his or her counselor individually or in small groups at least 3 times a year. It's usually more than that. So when we do a needs assessment at the end of this year, I'm feeling that the current seniors who we do the needs assessment with will indicate that they do know us. Quite less, but they do know us. And they're always seeing us. So there is a relationship that we build, and so there's a lot of trust there. And each year includes a non-based assessment that drives our discussions and curriculum emphases. And it's primarily what our student success plan is built on. It's counselors don't have a lot of data, we have a lot of feelings, and that doesn't really work well when you're trying to have data. So this is where we would include, what the personality type is, what kind of colleges they should look at. We have on Navion also all statistics regarding former classes and where they got in, and connect that to SAT scores in the classes they took. So as much as we can do with data in the counseling department, we utilize Navion for that. And these are the next steps. So we want to continue to implement initiatives that build on leadership potential and social-emotional learning. The district is being extremely supportive of that, and I believe that there's going to be, in the convocation day or the next day, a presentation by the Yale individual professor for the elementary school. So we are continuing our relations with Yale, which is an amazing program. It's a very entertaining lesson for teachers. We are going to pursue more relations in the work community to make education more meaningful and outcome-based. It doesn't have to be just in the high school, though I certainly know we've had several people come in from ED with Andre, in CTE element with Mr. Samuelson. We're going to meet next week to discuss how we can attach ourselves more to the surrounding community so that when kids are taking classes, they might know that, hey, this is what this employer is looking for. So the pathways system that Mr. Yard created will now be actually more local in addition to the STEM field. So we're hoping that employers will say, if this is what you do and these are the grades you get, we're going to look at hiring you. Maybe not a guarantee, but maybe an internship or something like that we're going to look through. And we're also looking to develop a transition-based program, a transition program between Park Lane and Park High School to help students acclimate and hit the ground running, which will also indicate something I want to do for postgraduates as well. So the programs that I have highlighted here, one Mr. Yard already mentioned is Wingman, and I think Mr. Sachs has mentioned it several times before, but I do want to hand out, if I can find it. Here we go. What is Wingman? And feel free to pass it along. I don't want to read it during the art presentation. But it is a phenomenal program that was the initiative, I think, was pretty much by the counselor, Mrs. Kelly, at the middle school level. We are one of only 18 schools in the state that has fully implemented it, and we're a model for other schools to look at. And it's an amazing program that really deals with a lot of the societal pressures and social emotional needs that students have, and does not favor one side or the other more. What's for next is a program that we are looking at pilot at the high school, no charge. Next year, always have to mention it. And its focus will be self-advocacy, conflict management, coping skills, health-seeking, time management, and financial management, which I believe are all keys for students leaving. And we are looking to pilot it with seniors. They're 30-minute sessions. We really can't fit it into advisory, so we're going to have to look for a core group of seniors that have study halls, and not seniors, we'll never get them, that might not have all of these skill sets, but will commit to the engagement. And we're looking to get professional development established next month, and then deliver it to maybe a small group, maybe 25 kids next year. And the hope is that we will be able to develop a program that will see more success at the post-secondary level. I do hope to get more data as time goes on to deliver to the board through the assistant superintendent about what's going on with our kids after graduation, because I think that data is key. We know they do great here. They're getting scholarships to what happens when they get out. And one of the things that will help with that, the transition program, I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, we did get a grant for starting to develop that program. So again, the initiative of teachers and administrators working to make our students' lives better. And again, hitting the ground running both when they're coming from elementary to middle to high, and we'll be probably do a lot more exploring about this from high school to more for college.
Thank you. So what you'll hopefully have seen in this presentation and in the school counseling curriculum is that we're really starting with a very young age to try to get self-awareness about how to regulate your own body, developmentally up to the middle school with really how to interact with others really well, and at the high school around, okay, what's the future going to look like so that you're not overwhelmed and stressed. And together, eclectically, I do think that we have a nice K through 12 system built, K to 5 level and 6 through 12. And I really want to thank Jason for his leadership in really orchestrating the 6 through 12 renewal. Answer any questions?
With the Wingman program, is that teachers done, or is that a person that comes in and presents?
Oh, it's student driven.
Oh,
Yes, I mean, we had special development, both Stephanie and myself, I think it was Kelly and myself, at, actually, at the first one was at one of the new leadership programs, the first exposure to it, and we were so excited by it, and she was willing to get the ground running and wanted to bring it back for her own personal project with how we demonstrate it in middle school. So the design is, the teacher learns from the professional. The teacher teaches this group of mentors, and they're the ones that run it. It really is to teach leadership skills in addition to any of those social emotional marks.
So then the kids go into different rooms and present the.
I mean, I don't know if they share down for the day or like half a
They
day.
do approximately 2 periods, about a month, every month. We have about 48 graders who've been trained by critical promise, and the teachers champions who sort of run those kids, and they go in and teach lessons to the 8th, 7th, or 5th graders, and it's pretty remarkable. It's really building their leadership skills.
I had the benefit of actually sitting in a class and watching a Park Lane student wingman present an activity for their peers, and it's very powerful.
And I went at the beginning and end, and the growth of these kids and confidence. I mean, I certainly wish I had that. Now, honestly, but yeah.
And then do they have apprentices when the 8th graders go off?
Yeah, that's my. Now, I'm not fully vested in the program, so I haven't had all the training, but my guess is the kids who have been exposed to it, I'm assuming there's going to be a rush. They want to be the next group because they are so talented and really are standout leaders.
What's the number of women and women that we that we have?
42 8th graders, and there's an elective class actually devoted to that group of kids, the Stephanie teachers, and there's about 30 to 35 7th graders that are in room to do the next step.
Great.
It gives them go-to people beyond the in the building. If they're ever in need, it really is quite a program, and obviously, just like the safety things we're doing right now, that are born of bad things happening in the world, but if they can do good, then hopefully some memories will prove to be quite powerful and make this world better.
I think a lot of these packaged programs, they're pretty much the same. I think what's most important is the vocabulary that the kids use and learn to use. So I think as adults, we need to be really consistent. So if we go with zones of regulation, that language needs to probably be incorporated in lessons through 12. So where kids are using the red, yellow, and green, I think that there's some really, Jim, wonderful lessons at the middle school. You know, I'm a middle school geek, and whoever took the time to write the lessons. But I would then look to see if those lessons and the language they use to describe emotions is actually aligned with zones of regulation, if that's what we choose.
And that's a great thought, Nim, and we will
because the kids, they'll say, well, I'm in a blue, I'm really kind of sluggy, and if that's not the same language you're using in your middle school, where they have, how does your body feel today?
Right.
But that being said, fabulous lesson. Yeah. So good job.
Thank you. These are all the work.
Yeah, good job. Because I've written curriculum, it's not easy.
No, it's not.
And trying to figure out how to fit in a developmental guidance program when there's just not enough time.
There isn't enough time. The teachers are extremely gracious with theirs, and they recognize the importance. It will help them in the classroom.
Yes.
You have to be present. You have to be mentally present around.
Any other questions or comments?
Just a general thing. My daughter's graduating this year, but I just want to thank you guys for the work you do, because just providing with the tools you have and the people there to help guide them along and tell them what they should be looking for and how to get there is tremendous. Because as parents, college has changed and what the requirements are and what's needed and everything is just different, so we have no clue.
And one of the benefits of being counselors, especially at high school, we're constantly learning the ropes. We had a financial advisor who would say, I'm not going to pretend we're all now CPAs, but we need to know, and we have to, what does that mean for our kids? We can't be advisors to the child will now be happy with us claiming that. But for me, it is important for us to be wary and aware so we can present that to parents and students together, not just the kids.
Right, and we went to a financial planning session. It was great. The gal that was there was tremendously helpful, and so thank you for all you guys do.
Much really appreciate it.
Any other questions? Great, I think that's all too.
Thank you. So then with visual arts, the arts department really recently revised their curriculum to the new art standards, and the art standards are for the musical arts and performing arts and visual arts. They're all the same standards. The art department at the high school really wanted to add a little more breadth to their course offerings for their limited staff, but really wanted to make sure that the courses that they did teach really kids could have a lot more opportunity. And so with that, I'm going to ask our department chair, Heather Paquette, to kind of go over the myriad of new course offerings that will be offered over the course, over the student's high school career. So none of these are expected to be all done in 1 year because there's too many offerings for the amount of students we have. But over time, I think it's a great opportunity for more student choice. Heather?
The teachers were finding at the high school is that there was a lot of student interest to add senior courses because some of the students have now worked their way through the entire curriculum and are looking for some more advanced opportunities. The teachers are also interested in trying out new art teachers for those students who are learning. We want to have a really good quality program and a competitive program with other schools in the area. So we wanted to offer courses that students are taking in other schools in the area. And we wanted to incorporate some more technology into the courses to provide them with the 21st century skills. Because students, especially those who decide they're going to do these careers, later on when they need skills. If they're, say, an illustrator, they're not just going to be drawing, they're going to be scanning images and editing images and communicating with clients using email and using JPEG. So it's a very different world for artists. So these courses will meet the needs of students that are looking to expand their portfolio and maybe go to college and study art. It's also for students who are just interested in taking an art course. There are a lot of students at the high school who take a really heavy course load and they want to have a class that's different, that gives them a break, that is something that they can just enjoy and really explore something new. So we thought about them when we were creating these classes as well. And then, again, there are students that are really interested in using technology. So there are 4 courses that are for the advanced students. There's 2D Studio Art 4, 3D Studio Art 4, Figure Drawing and Character Design, and Perspective, which is including architecture, optical art, and film course. And the first two classes are just the next level for students that are taking 2D Studio Art 3 and 3D Studio Art 3. So in 2D Studio Art 4, students will get their 2D skills, things like drawing and painting, but it's more individualized. So students will be designing basically what they want to work on over the course of the semester. They'll be designing their groups, what their goals are, what they want to accomplish, and then they're going to develop a body of work that they'll also present and showcase. And they'll be critiquing their work as they go and working more almost like a college studio course where students are working individually and then coming together to share their ideas and encourage each other or critique the work and offer some ideas. And 3D Studio Art 4 is similar, but in this case they'll be using materials like clay and paper and wood and plaster, working in 2 dimensions. But the idea is that, again, they'll be working individually, they'll be getting guidance from the teacher, guidance from their peers, and they'll be presenting their body of work. Studio design and character design is more specialized, so there may be students that are really interested in illustration, interested in creating characters, interested in just drawing in human form, and this course will go from the basics
all the way up to developing their own characters, thinking about what kind of environment those characters might live in. So this is something that a people illustrator might be interested in, or even someone who's interested in learning film or animation. The perspective course will be focused on architecture, optical art, toy, but perspective is a skill that's studied in all of the art courses, starting at the very basics. This gives students an opportunity to really push the limits, to try some really advanced skills. So right now in the courses, they're kind of building. They've been in these introductory courses, they're learning the initial ideas, and then each course they get to build on those. So this is an opportunity for them to really expand. And then some of the other courses that we've added are, again, they're more introductory courses or they're standalone courses that students can take if they're interested in exploring an art course. So the first is art exploration, technique, and collage, and this goes along with the other two art exploration courses that we have in our curriculum currently. And the way we've broken those up is that they have a 2D element and a 3D element, so each of those three courses can serve as a prerequisite for the advanced courses. So in printmaking, they're learning techniques like holograph and monotype and different ways to reproduce an image over and over again. In collage, again, they're working with different materials to combine and put together to create images. Contemporary craft is another course where they'll be looking at work from various cultures using some different kinds of materials like wood and paper in really interesting ways, fiber art, and the focus will be on craftsmanship and really learning skill. There's a sketch book that we have designed where students will actually be building a book. They'll be putting it together, they'll be exploring different ideas that they can put into it, and then they'll be creating an altered book at the end. And then the technology courses that we've added, the first is illustration, so this will be a hybrid course. Students will be doing studio work, like drawing and painting, and then they'll be combining that with technology, so they'll be scanning images in, editing the images, layering different things. They'll be doing projects like cartooning and comic design, character drawing, technical illustration. So there's a lot of different directions that students can go, and it uses a lot of different student interests. And there's a lot of emphasis on developing ideas, working with art direction. For a student that might be considering doing this as a career, that's a huge component. Careers is learning how to work with other people, how to take an idea that someone gives to you and really develop it, and also make them happy with what you're doing. And then the last course is the art of animation. So students will be learning how to make animation using technology. And we have some examples at the bottom, just some very basic pieces that students have made so far, but they'll be able to create really, really involved pieces. So they'll be developing ideas in all of these courses. Everything starts with a sketch, and they work out their ideas. We always have students reflect on their work and talk about their work and talk with each other. So this will just be a way to really expand what they can do and how far they can push their art.
Thank you. So what you hope to see is the only request would be for 2 document cameras, and that paper is actually next to behind Craig as well. We really wanted to do this at no extra cost. All of our digital art, we really use the Adobe Photoshop and the Tech Ed wing to do that. So in addition to our 2 art classrooms, the art department has migrated down to the first floor as well for the digital pieces so that we can kind of use those powerful computers for photography and all of this digital opportunity. So happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
I was just going to say, it's really great that you're doing this because I know a local magnet high school that will soon be branching out and offering not only STEM but the arts pathway very vigorously. So this is great that we can get out there ahead of time and really kind of push that forward because it's just going to set us apart before anyone else locally, and it's really just going to be a nice leg up.
Thank you very much. Very good. Next item, tuition rates for out-of-district students, school year 2018-2019. We do this every night. We have a proposal before us, and I'd like to have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes unanimously. First reading of policy.
Okay, thank you. Our first policy is on tuition fees, so akin to the rates you just approved, we have enhanced the regulations to this to really delineate what those special ed costs would be and to really codify in the regulations the process to go by to accept a tuition-based student by how much of the tuition we want up front, and then when do we want the rest of that to hopefully minimize or eliminate the chasing of tuition dollars that we have had to do in the past. So that's our first policy. I'd be happy to address any questions.
Do we have students that come in with that we charge tuition for?
We do.
It's not many.
No, that's not.
There's 3 this year, 2 last, we're down the road.
Peggy, the summer school, do we have students from other towns that come?
So we often get calls. I can't say that we have taken too many, if any, under... Yeah. So, but other towns do call, and we want to have at least an opportunity for them to access it.
I think we anticipate a motion of all policies before any board member being able to use the segregate for one of these meetings.
Fair enough. So, next one is employment checks, and this is really one where the policy is catching up to our practice. So our practice really had to start at the beginning of this year, where and all principals will attest that every hire we have to do a little more comprehensive background check. And this policy, policy 411.2.5, really delineates the statutory requirements which we must do. So happy to answer any questions in addition to that.
I just have a couple questions. The fingerprinting, before we used to have them go to a specific place, now they can go to any, where do they go to get the fingerprinting done?
Yeah, so we used to be able to send them to Learn, and Learn could share the fingerprints by everyone. The Department of Justice, or the federal government basically said that is Connecticut was not doing something right, so we had to change that practice. So they basically have to get fingerprinted at our police station, but then they can just be used by us.
And contractors we might have in the schools, they're fingerprinted
through the hiring company. So that's a condition of coming in as a service.
And the bus drivers, they're fingerprinted
STA
through them.
does that,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you.
Fair enough. So the next one, student attendance, truancy, and chronic absence, policy 5113. This, we really, because there is no fusion, which is family with service needs request, that would trigger a court appearance, and that means that we used to use that sort of way to have a diversionary program called the Juvenile Review Board through JRB, and so because the state has eliminated that sort of system and really put it upon us to kind of just manage our own students with chronic either truancy or absenteeism, that we will obviously continue to work with youth service as well as other partners where appropriate, and we had to change our policies to really delineate that.
Any questions from the board?
But really, the policy is not the big piece here, it's the regulation.
That is correct.
And this regulation is this going to be new, or is it following what we do currently?
It is following what we've had to do this year.
Okay. According to state law.
Right, and that's why where the policy hasn't changed,
right,
some of the laws and statutory references have.
Okay, thank you. That's what I thought when I read it.
And then, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump the gun. The last one really is de minimis in nature. It's suspected child abuse and neglect policy 51.41.4, and the only change is really the statutory change at the very back. Everything else stays the same. That's the only reason why I say it's a de minimis change.
I just have one question back on the attendance, and I'm just chuckling because when I thought this was a big deal.
Yes.
The extracurricular activities and having to have to be in school for 4 hours during exam time, is that still held up? Because there was always questions about if I don't have exams that day, do I have to come to school so that I can play my baseball game or my softball game? So, and it doesn't look like there's any extra wording. It's just, so yeah. I'm just interested to see how that's applied.
So, I'm going to call on Mr. Hauser to answer that in a moment.
But you know what I'm referring to.
The 4-hour minimum.
January, not the June.
Yeah,
June, there's no game.
Yeah, the 4-hour minimum, Joy. The State Department had to change a little bit with respect to early release time because there used to be you had to clock in so many hours to consider it a school day, and there was some lawsuits about inclement weather which necessitated the change several years back where if we call it a school day, it's a school day. But in addition to that, Andre, to answer the specific sports question.
For a student who's got, for whatever reason, a day that's shorter than the full 6.5 hours, we more or less prorate it a little bit. So during midterm exams, when this would be a real issue, if a student is supposed to be there for 4.5 hours, the 2 exams plus a half hour in between, but they didn't have the first period exam, they really only need to be there for 2 hours. The middle, basketball, and indoor track, and boys swimming, and wrestling, all those winter sports, they're there for their full scheduled day. So as long as they're there for the full scheduled day, they're in attendance.
And that really comports to the change of practice from the State Department with not having a set time.
Right. Thank you.
We have a recommended motion before us. If someone should make that motion.
Well, the board, I'd like to move the Board of Waterford Board of Education to adopt policy 33414, policy 4112.5, 4212.5, 26, policy 5113, attendance and truancy, and policy 5141.4, about the
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Our guest of honor is still tied up. So what I would suggest is we can place the item on next meeting's agenda. That's agreeable with the board. And then we need to go into executive session.
Nice job. Thank you. It is.
No.
I didn't know if that was GE. I don't know. Yeah. One of my twins says Sheila.
Who did?
Made the motion.
Made the motion.
Go ahead.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we'll move into executive session.
My apologies. I literally did not realize you had to do that.
I did write on a couple of pages, so you might want to look through them.
When you drop these off, without dropping them, and I'll be back. Okay, real briefly. Linda.
Okay.